We're on. Hi, Beetle people. This is Glen Kellaway from the basement with my very good friend, Sam St. John. Hi, Sam.
This is Sam St. John from the third floor now.
From the third, oh, we got from the basement to the third floor. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got it covered. We need to find
Not a
someone
Glen.
who's on the ground level and the first and second floor, and we could have it all covered.
Yeah, and I'm not in Glen's home. Glen doesn't live in a mansion, as far as I'm on.
No, he doesn't.
I'm not in his house.
No, Glenn does not live in a mansion. I can confirm that. So today, it's our turn. There's been a lot of videos talking about the unboxing of Let It Be, and now the reviews are all coming out. There's been a bunch of those. I've been trying to avoid them because I didn't want them to taint my opinion of the set. I want it to just be my opinion, so I didn't want anything to kind of get in my head. I don't know what if you've been watching or not.
Yeah, I've watched a few. Because again, I can't stay away from it. I love the Beatles so much, and I kind of when the carrot is dangled in front of me, I've got to nip at it. So that's what I've been doing now for, I guess, about a week now. I guess it came out was it last Friday?
Yeah.
So not quite a week.
Cool. So we both had a chance to listen for like almost a week now. We've been kind of planning on doing this this week, and yeah. So first, our impressions just on Let It Be as an album, even before this box set came out, where it stands with you in the Beatles canon, and whether you like it or whatever.
Yeah, for me, I've talked about this, I guess, on other videos. Even may have mentioned it on a few of these with Glenn. I didn't get into the Beatles until, like, I didn't fully get into the Beatles until 2009, when the first round of remixes under George Martin's supervision came out, from the 21st century. Of course, I had the Beatles one album. I knew all the hits and that sort of thing. But Let It Be as an album, um, it varies. I mean, sometimes I liked the rawness of it and that sort of thing. And actually, of course, I mean, I knew Long and Winding Road, I knew Get Back, and I knew Let It Be. I mean, they were all on the one album, and I knew that one frontwards and backwards. So when the Beatles Rock Band video game came out, I guess it was around 2009, when all the remixes were coming out. That's when they had I Me Mine on that album. I mean, on that game, and they also had I've Got a Feeling. And so I was like, I fell in love with I've Got a Feeling. I mean, that was like the one I was like, ooh, that's good. That's on Let It Be. I'm like, oh, Let It Be. I need to check that out. And I've mentioned this before too. My first Beatles album was Abbey Road. And I didn't really go in any order of how I purchased them, but I got them all in 2009 at some point. And I probably, like the people like yourself that heard it when it first came out, didn't really get why did they put in a 40-second clip of Maggie May, the old Liverpudlian folk song? Why did they put in the middle of a jam session called Dig It? I didn't really get that. And there was some studio chatter, of course, with like two of us, how it opens up. But I mean, look, and this has been said a million times, it's a Beatles album, so it doesn't stink. There's not a single Beatles album that stinks. There's not a single Beatles album that's bad, or there's not even, I wouldn't even say there's a Beatles album that's average.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you take out Maggie May and Dig It and stick to the standard tracks, you've got some killer songs. I mean, the Rockers, I've Got a Feeling, One After 909.
Yeah.
Get Back, and then like the bluesy, folky For You Blue by George. It's just it's great stuff. Even if the Beatles were exhausted and tired and they just finished the White Album and they jumped into these sessions a few months later. So I mean, look, I love it. Again, it's one that I know frontwards and backwards. I play it more than I play other Beatles albums, I'll say that. I play it more than I'll play albums, even like Help or even Rubber Soul. I'll play this one before those. So I mean, I love it to death. I mean, it's part of the great, canon of music that's now in the world. And I mean, this is right up there with any of them, and it's the Beatles again. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my general thoughts on the album as the album itself, not the mix.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the album. I mean, like you said, all the Beatles albums are great. I love them all. It's hard to say one's bad, but if I'm ranking them, it definitely is in my bottom, probably 3, 4 Beatle albums of favorites. And I agree with you. Like the decision to put "Dig It" and Maggie May in. Why didn't they put "Don't Let Me Down" in there or something? If you just want to talk
Mhm.
about sequencing, and that's my favorite song out of the whole sessions.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite John songs ever. Like, why wasn't that included? Would have been better than spacing with that other stuff. But I guess they wanted to because of the movie and whatever. They wanted to keep some kind of the atmosphere
Mhm.
of a live type in the studio live type sessions going on, and that kind of
Right.
added to it. I guess that's the only reason I could think of them doing it. But otherwise, it's not a bad album. But yeah, I certainly have a different opinion of it after the after listening to the box set intently and some of the extras. So
Yeah.
um, Sam has the CD box set, and I have the vinyl box set. So as we're giving our thoughts, keep in mind that that's what we're listening to here. So it'll be interesting, different perspective, because I am hearing that the vinyl and the CDs sound a little different, but we'll see.
Right.
Um, yeah. So first of all, the presentation of the packaging itself. You happy with it?
Yeah, I am. Whenever I get these Beatles box sets, and I have 3 out of the 4 that they've done for the 50th. I don't have the White Album. I have the White Album with the Escher demos, but I don't have the full box set. I am gonna get it at
Yeah, it's
some point.
amazing. Yeah.
But I mean, the White Album, Pepper, and Let It Be are similar in their packaging. And of course, Abbey Road was kind of a stumper for people. What Abbey Road was put out kind of
Yeah.
like a vinyl record, kind of in a box.
Yeah.
But beside the point, I mean, that's my favorite Beatles album is Abbey Road. But this packaging, it matched the White Album. Not quite as elaborate as Sergeant Pepper. Sergeant Pepper had kind of like the hologram sleeve that it fit into, and
Mhm.
it had all the little trinkets and things. Sergeant Pepper had tons of little things. Maybe that's because it was the first in this series to be released. It was
Yeah.
2017, and then you had 2018, 19, and then this one delayed a year into 2021. But I mean, you have, you know, and you all have seen all the unboxings, but this is the sleeve for the actual discs, and um, they all came with an ad for the book. But I mean, it comes with alternate images of like the Get Back sessions, and I've got all the CDs out, but you can see the slots for the CDs, and that's the Blu-ray disc down there, which I listened to yesterday for the first
Did you
time.
hear a big difference in the Blu-ray quality of the Blu-ray audio than the?
Yes, so um, and I guess I'll jump into that in just a second, but and then here,
Yeah, I'm kind of jumping ahead.
just like Glenn, this is the actual outer sleeve, which I was able to keep the shrink on it um, for the box set, and of course the book itself slides in to
So it's funny. I would have thought to save money, I guess, that they would have made the CD set the same size as the album set, but they didn't. Right? It's rectangular, so the book is like my book's square, the size of an album, and your book is
yeah,
tall
this
and
is for
yeah.
like a
See,
year book,
that's correct. I'm surprised they did that, but that's cool. Yeah,
but
maybe that
it's
was to get people to buy both sets.
yeah, and you have the mega collectors, and Glenn and I were talking before the show, and we're not putting people down for this, but I mean, especially in recent years, especially the solo Beatles camps, McCartney in particular, and most recently Harrison, with the archival sets, they put out, a dozen or so different versions. And with this, and again, I'm sure we'll get to this in just a minute, and everybody watching knows, but those who don't know, there's a documentary coming out around Thanksgiving here in the States. It's late November for everybody else, same time, but um, there's a lot of speculation that there's going to be more Let It Be stuff released with in the week or so following the Peter Jackson documentary on Disney Plus that's coming out, especially going into the Christmas holiday, to kind of give us one more thing to buy before Christmas. So that there's a ton of different variants, and like Glenn was saying, they might have set up the CD box to be different from the vinyl set, so that when the mega collectors put it on their shelf, they can see, here's the vinyl set, it's this large, the CD set is this size.
Mhm.
But if that's your thing, if you like to collect, go on and get all the t-shirts and the extra posters and that sort of thing. And even if you just want like the 2 CD set, there's a double CD set with like the best of the outtakes on top of the original album. So there are options, and I think that one, from what I saw, somebody had a video up for that. I think it was just under $20 for that, so it's a good deal. I mean,
That is a good
$10
deal.
for
Yeah.
both of the discs, so
Mhm. Yeah.
you have options.
Yeah. Which is good. Yeah.
But I do like the
It's for
packaging.
every budget, right? Which is nice.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, okay, so getting into the albums, I guess. Do you want to discuss each one individually, or just your overall impressions first, or save the overall impressions until?
Yeah, I mean, even at least for like I guess for like the main album, we can go through in tracks. If there's something that you might want to say, I don't know how in depth you want to go. And I'll go ahead and jump into it. And like I said just a minute ago, in preparation for this, I wanted to be sure to listen to all the discs. And so when I listened to the original album again, you know, last night, because yesterday after I got home, I listened to the whole set in one night. It's a lot of music to listen to and to soak in, but
Yeah.
I soldiered through it. And in lieu of listening to the main CD for the main album, I listened to the Blu-ray because I hadn't heard that yet. And you were asking a second ago if there was a difference. There's definitely a difference. I can tell you, and I'll jump ahead here for just a second. The song, title song, "Let It Be," sounded much, much, much better in my car system than it did on the Blu-ray. Now, with that being said, I don't have a Blu-ray sound system. I mean, I've got the speakers that are on the TV, and that's it. I don't have like a special Bose audio like around the room
Mhm.
here. So this is based solely off of the 2 speakers on the back of the TV. It's a little flat screen TV. But when I'm in my car and I've got the stereo system around me, when I listen to the song "Let It Be," it was like listening to it for the first time for me. I
Wow.
thought, and again, that's one of those songs you hear it so much, and you sometimes you want to avoid it like the plague, because
Mhm.
like, oh, they're gonna play "Let It Be" again, or like if Paul McCartney goes on to like a like if he performs like at the Grammys or something like that, you're like, oh, here it comes, he's gonna sing "Let It Be." But
Well, it's a
I went
great
into
song. So, like, it's an amazing
it is
song. Hey, people always say, "Oh, let it be." It's an
it's a
amazing
great
song.
song, and
Beautiful song.
and hearing the different versions of it on the different discs, um, I agree with a couple people that I've seen, and I thought of this before. I think it's like the pinnacle of the set is listening to that song, because I was in my car listening to it, and it sounded so just different enough. The horns in the back and Billy Preston's organ just sounded so, they were right there.
Mhm.
Um, the guitar solo was a little bit crunchier for the album version, and that's the one I was like, all right, this is worth it right here.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
For me, the standout tracks were Across the Universe and I Me Mine.
I'm okay.
Across the Universe, like you can, I just love the new mix. It kind of like George has got this, like when you listen to it on the original album, it's, I shouldn't say more muddy, but maybe you just don't hear the clarification, distinction of each instrument as well. It's all kind of one big jumbled mess. And this, I could hear the individual, like George has this wah-wah guitar that kind of, when John's doing the chant part, you hear the wah, 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 wah on the guitar, and which didn't stand out that much on the original mix to me. And I distinctly heard it, like it drew my ear to it. Went, oh, that's interesting. So, and the vocals, just about, I'd say every track, the vocals are much improved. You can hear the separation in each one of the Beatles when they're doing harmonies or when they're just singing by themselves. It sounds much clearer. It's I'm actually quite impressed with the remix. I think they were very respectful of the work Phil Spector did on the album, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought they were going to dummy Phil Spector's work down, and I think they respected what he did and worked with it rather than worked against it, which I was really happy about. And my general impression after listening to the whole box and listening, like we'll get into the Glenn Johns mix and all that, but that Phil Spector did a freaking incredible job with this record, and he took a mess and turned it into a polished product.
Yeah.
And I have much more respect for the work he did on this album, because for years people have been going, Phil Spector shit all over Let It Be, and but I think he saved it.
Yeah, well, I was listening the other day again in prep for this. Giles Martin, who I don't think we've mentioned, Giles Martin, George Martin's son, oversees these projects now. He was talking to National Public Radio here in the States, and they were talking about, him and Bob Boylan, the host, were talking about the mix, and specifically the Long and Winding Road, which is like the big song. It's like that was over contention. Of course, McCartney put out Let It Be Naked in 2003 to kind of strip away the Spector stuff and try to make it more like he thought it should have sounded. But again, and I think I wrote, like the Long and Winding Road, I wrote for like the main album. It's the best of Spector and also the best of like the Let It Be Naked, like the point of Let It Be Naked, because they isolated both sounds so well with the orchestration and with McCartney's playing and singing, that the vocal is up front and intimate like they wanted, but you still have like that punch of the orchestra, especially the big climax at the end. And I think it you can hear more emotion in McCartney's voice in the new mix. And again, it shows what Spector did, but you can also, if you want to kind of close off an ear and listen, you can hear like how they might have wanted it. And Giles Martin was very pleased that that's how it sounded, like how when it was finally remixed, like he was happy that that's the takeaway that people got from it. Was that stripping from, kind of the stripping away of both objects, but still keeping them both intact.
So we're both giving the remix a thumbs up.
Oh, for sure. I mean, definitely get it.
An improvement over the See, now here's my problem too. Is I bought the album when it came out and had it for 30 years, and then when I sold off my record collection, I don't have it anymore to listen to. So I'm referencing the 2009 mix for the CDs, and then gradually on the album that came with the release with the box set. So, but I think I can still kind of listening to it for 30 years. I think I have a pretty good idea of what sound. I don't know what the best pressing was. It was a UK one or the North American one or whatever. I can't argue to that, but yeah, I think they improved it. It's definitely my go-to Let It Be album now for sure.
Another thing, again, and I've listened to it, the album itself since 2009, and 100 times. The song One After 909, how they remixed it, it re-sparked my interest in that song. And I know a lot of them, they say that that's one of the earliest, if not the earliest, Lennon McCartney song. They wrote it back in the late 50s, and I think they were even singing it a little bit in the Cavern Club, an early take of it, and it probably just spawned from them jamming. I'm not a Beatles expert, so Beatles people don't kill me, but it hit me different. It was punchier, just how it sounded. You could hear how fun. Like I can see Paul and John like looking at each other playing and like laughing, thinking about when they were 18, 19, writing the song together. So yeah, I mean, and another thing that the comments a lot too that I'm hearing is they bring up the bass and the drums more in these mixes.
Oh yeah.
And some people say, oh, that's because Paul and Ringo are still alive and they want to make them happy. But if you listen to this version of Get Back from the album, like I think it's done more for you to realize Paul McCartney was and is a very, very good bass player. Like very, and Ringo is a killer drummer.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I listen to Get Back, you could really, and this is Get Back the song, not the album. You could, just the bass on Get Back itself, you're like, what is he doing? Like it's crazy how intricate it is and how totally against the song it is.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The main album for sure, even if you just get the 2 CD, I would get it. It's probably going to be my go-to over the 2009.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. What about next? Let's talk about the Giles Martin.
Move to Get Back. Okay.
First, I love that freaking cover. Like I just love it. This is what got me to buy the vinyl over the CDs. The only reason, so I could have this on vinyl.
I've heard other people say that too.
Yeah.
Well, let me jump ahead here because I think, what is that? That's disc.
Did you have any more comments on the original album? I know you made a lot more notes than I.
Oh no. I was kind of just recommending it to people, even if they just get the 2-disc version on CD, to please get it. The Get Back album. It's the Glenn Johns kind of lost album. Of course, it's a completely different track listing and some different tracks than Let It Be itself. And like as you mentioned, of course, the cover is a almost shot for shot copy of Please Please Me.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And actually,
8 years later.
I saw an edit online where somebody took the Please Please Me cover, the Please Please Me shot, and put it on the next balcony.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So it was like young and old.
That would be cool. Yeah.
But it was cool. So this is really neat. The liner notes on the back are word for word from Please Please Me, with the exception of a couple of track changes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat. But it was definitely a warmer sounding. I mean, listening to it on CD, it sounded like you're listening to a vinyl record, is what I thought. It kind of had that little slight bit of like warmth and fuzz that you kind of hear on a vinyl record, and they somehow, it sounds great on a CD. Again, one after 909 kicks it off, which I just mentioned. I've found a new respect for as just like simple. It's a simple, rockabilly song.
Did you notice the see, One After 909 is the standout track on this album for me, on the Get Back one, because
I
of what
think
they
so.
did with the separation of John and Paul's vocals. If you hear it on the Let It Be album, they're pretty well centered together.
Yeah.
Then John's version, John's in the left channel, Paul's in the right channel, yet their voices are really blended because they do, they do the harmonies on the, sing a lot on that song together. It sounds incredible. And then Ringo's is kind of in the middle. Like it's almost like you can close your eyes and see them spread across the stage. And I just
And
loved it. It's that version of One After 909 just blew me away.
well, like I wrote that it has the solo on it was biting is the word that I use.
Yeah.
Like it just sounded, it was just like it had a different pop to it. And they also, the end of this, which, we're so used to Let It Be ending with John saying, I'd like to say thanks on behalf of the group and myself. I hope we pass the audition. They have it at the end of that song. So it starts with John saying that. Like when the song ends, it goes into John saying that with the rooftop chatter. So yeah, I mean, again, every version of One After 909 I could listen to on this. I loved because I got into the song again. I found a new love for it.
Yeah, that would be my go-to version of One After 909. If I was putting this on a burned CD for the car or something, I would take the One After 909 version off of the Get Back and put it in place of the one on the Let It Be album.
That would be interesting to do. Make your own bootlegs.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Teddy Boy was okay. I mean, we know it from McCartney's album. I kind of thought that was interesting as a Beatle track.
It was a little long. I thought it was.
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
little long.
it was
You're right.
kind of jammy. It was like 4 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Oh, another neat, like for the Dig a Pony. It almost sounds like With a Little Help from My Friends, which they mention in the book. Kind of the guitar is like bow now now now. It's very similar to Joe Cocker, which I never thought about till listening to this. But it starts with John, going, "All I want is," and then they jump into the song. So they open with "All I Want Is," and then he says the song like we know it. And it has this version has a false start, just like the album version.
Yeah.
But that was neat to hear. And then what was neat was that they merged that. It went right into "I've Got a Feeling" on this particular version. And I thought there was a little bit more soul in their voices, of John and Paul's voices on "I've Got a Feeling," with their respective, counter lyrics to each other. And I know, like, and I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. One thing, like back to Paul being a bassist on "Don't Let Me Down," which is on this version, which Glenn mentioned, which was on the Let It Be itself. At the beginning, there's a false start, and Paul, they added in him kind of just hitting this like crazy bass noodling, like refreshing himself to restart the song. And I heard that and I was like, good grief, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Like give me just like 3 minutes of that, of Paul the bass neck. And you as a bassist, I'm sure, respect hearing McCartney up front in these mixes. But yeah, I agree. Teddy Boy was, what it was. Let's see if there's anything. Maggie May was exactly the same. There wasn't anything different about that.
Yeah, I dig it. I don't know. Yeah, they really seem to, both the Glenn Johns and Phil Spector seem to like those tracks, whatever. But my overall impression of this is it's a bit too raw. Like, if this was intended, Glenn Johns released this as the album, I think it would have been considered the worst Beatles album in their catalog.
I think so. I think if it was, I think like if it was released, like if they had released Let It Be as is, and let's say like the following year they released this as like a companion or like a live album of Let It Be, like artists today they'll release I don't I know Tedeschi Trucks, they just did a live album for Layla, like,
which is one of the great albums released this year. It's fantastic.
but like live, essentially like a live companion piece to the album. I think it would have put this higher up in the Beatles catalog, and the record company probably could have gotten away with it
Yeah,
because the Beatles were going to break up one way or the other. But
yeah,
if they had like had released this like, later in 1970 or even into 71, just to keep the Beatles train going a little bit longer. But it was interesting how on this, and I thought it was very cool because I don't have bootlegs or anything like that, that it's a 4+ minute version of Dig It in this, which is cool to hear how they got there.
yeah,
And it's just them going like, pick it up, doing good. And Billy
yeah,
Preston
yeah.
is going to town. Billy Preston,
Billy Preston's awesome on this. That's another thing that kind of stands out on some of this stuff is that how good Billy Preston was
oh my, yeah,
and how they needed him at these sessions.
yeah. And then of
Yeah,
course it ends, with John saying that was "Can You Dig It" by Georgie Wood.
yeah.
But
Yeah, this is like the comment I made earlier about having a renewed respect for Phil Collins. Geez, where'd I get that from? Phil Spector's work on this album. I think this highlights it because I don't think they ever could have released this as that raw. It wouldn't have. I would have been going, "What the hell is this?" But I'm glad I have it. It's cool, and I'll listen to it from time to time. But yeah,
it's
so
definitely for the vinyl. It looks like you could frame that if you could just copy that and frame it. I mean, that'd be a
yeah.
great thing in your
Yeah.
wall.
Now, one thing I do want to mention for vinyl lovers is these albums, I believe, were pressed at Optimal in Germany, and they're really quiet and really well pressed. Like, just the quality of the vinyl is top notch as far as I'm concerned. So, next. Now, I don't know how it comes with the CDs, how many CDs cover this. Apple
2.
Sessions, Rehearsals, and Apple Jams. This is a 2-record set in the vinyl.
Okay. So yeah, we can start with the sessions because the sessions is the first disc, and then
Okay, they split it up, eh? Okay.
Yeah. So Apple Sessions, which is what disc?
First of all, let me show this. This is, I think this is
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Amazing.
So that's neat that you get it as a big fold. Yeah. For
Yeah.
us, it's the same images, which I wish. That's one thing I wish they would have made these different images because, that's the same. And then like on the back, it's just the same.
It's the same. Yeah. It's too bad you didn't get these photos from the inside of the gatefold because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
Let me jump back because, like I said, I was pumping in a lot of Beatles music yesterday, so I wanted to be sure to get everything correct here. You go ahead and you can go. Well, here we go.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I was really torn whether to get the vinyl or the CD set, and the one reason that swayed at vinyl was because of the Get Back album. But the one thing that was swaying it towards the CD set for about 2 months before it came out, I had the CD set on pre-order before I switched it. Was I knew that after I heard the little talking parts and all that once, I don't want to hear them again. With a CD, I got my remote and I can go click, 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 and just get to the music. With an album, you can't get up and start, taking the needle and putting it onto the next track. It'd be a pain in the ass. So, in that regard, I wish I had this on CD. So I'll let you give your thoughts on it.
Well, just to start with, I guess for you it's LP1. It's the disc 2 for the CD collection, the Apple Sessions. It's neat because it starts. It's called, and a lot of this is pulled from the Let It Be film. A lot of the audio dialogue, which I'll admit I haven't seen that film ever. So I'm going into this blind.
Oh, interesting.
But it's neat when it starts, to hear Ringo saying, another bright day, morning cameras, and like he's like, being sarcastic, and they go from that right into Two of Us, which that version of Two of Us I kind of liked, but at the end when they're finishing up the song, you can tell it's just like a rough rehearsal, and John kind of does like a almost like a Bob Dylan impression at the end. He's like, pardon, pay. Like he's like enunciating. Like, I think they called it in the book his American accent, but it sounded like Dylan. I
Yeah.
mean, and George Harrison had just spent, you know, the latter part of '68 with Bob Dylan and the band, so
Yeah.
they were listening to a lot of that American music. So that was kind of neat. I like that. I like that intro, and I like the Maggie May / Fancy My Chances. It was faster. It was just like acoustic guitars, and I thought I mean, the harmony is really good. It's very Everly Brothers harmony, which was one of
Mhm.
their McCartney Lennon influences, and just, you know, Fancy My Chances with you. Like it was really, I enjoyed it. Um, let's see. Can You Dig It was interesting. It wasn't a whole lot to say. They also have the line about that was Can You Dig It by Georgie Wood in that as well. Um, let's see if there's anything for you, Blue. On this take, it sounded more intimate. I think you could actually hear kind of the strings, like of, and for guitar players, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like when you touch a guitar string, and sometimes if your finger is a little bit damp, you can hear it kind of stick to the string, and you can actually kind of hear that a little bit from what I got. But you can also hear
I
George.
like when I hear that I
I
like
do
that when I
too.
hear that on a studio album. Sometimes, especially on acoustics, you can hear them sliding down. You can hear
Yeah.
the string.
And
It's
it's neat because George, he uses like a different singing voice, and I'm glad he didn't do this on the final take, but he uses like vibrato. He's like, I love you, and he holds it a little
yeah.
bit longer. I don't know where he got that from. You Beatle people might be able to tell me more about that, but that was interesting. Um, let's see if there's anything else. Let's see the Don't Let Me Down, this version. This was the first rooftop take, and John messes up the lyrics at the end,
Yeah.
kind of just forgets him, which he was known to do quite a bit. Um, the version of Get Back on this take, it was kind of like they finished with like this laughing, like ha 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 ha, like they just keep doing it like to be fun. It's mostly Paul. Um, and then they do, let's see, the Let It Be take 10. Paul kind of starts like this like show tunesy version of Please Please Me. He doesn't quite, it's like he's just fiddling around on piano like in,
Yeah.
you know, a different key. Um, so I know people were getting excited that they were seeing, you know, like, oh, do they do Please Please Me in 1969? Not really. It's just Paul kind of
It's
fumbling
too bad
around.
they didn't break into the whole band break into it. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean there were a bunch. I mean, like even like I'm Mine, which is the last track on that disc.
Yeah.
You know, it mentions Wake Up Little Susie, but they hardly even touch Wake Up Little Susie on it. I think they do like the opening chord,
I know.
and they might say Wake Up Little Susie, and that's it. And then they go into I'm Mine. But
Yeah. You
I,
feel
I
like
really,
you feel like they didn't give you enough. Don't, don't you think? Like
yeah. I
when you
mean,
hear that, you go, "Oh man, I want to hear more of that."
oh, there were several times. I mean, even like that version, like I said, of Maggie May and with Fancy Me Chances. Like I wish that was like I would have loved to have heard like all of like the folk songs and like the popular songs of the day or of the 50s
Mhm.
that they were pulling out. And I know there's a lot more to Let It Be, and they, again, we don't know what's coming down, you know, down the
Well,
tube
like
here
in
with.
you've never seen Let It Be, but there's a part in Let It Be when they break into "You Really Got a Hold on Me," like in the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
sure
have
there's a
heard that.
ton more. I'm sure there's a ton more musical uh, segments they could have thrown in.
But like on the Glenn Johns mix, this, you know, the Save the Last Dance for Me, they sound drunk when they're doing it, but
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's fun to hear.
I would have rather had more musical moments than less talking moments. The talking moments to me are just like I hear them once, I don't need to hear them again.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially, I know people are singing the praises of the companion book that comes, you can get at Target, wherever,
Mhm.
um, with the transcripts that you can't always hear on the record because they back away from the mic and they're talking away from the sound engineers, and it's on here. But I know people are like, you know, like I've been listening to bootlegs for years, and I never knew that that's what they said. So it does change the narrative when you know what they're saying. So yeah, I could get behind that with less talking and more outtakes.
Yeah. Next, what's the next CD?
I
Is
guess
that?
the rehearsals, just I guess real quick to mention those, and the jams.
Oh,
That
okay,
started.
all right. So they split that up on 3 CDs. So because this is all on one, right? You get that double album that says Apple. So your CDs are split up. One's Apple
Yeah,
Sessions, one's
so there's the Apple
rehearsals.
sessions,
Okay,
and
and
then
one's
the
Apple
second
Jams.
disc
I got it.
is rehearsals and Apple jams
Okay, I'm a little
on
slow.
one CD.
I got it. So the app,
But
so the rehearsals are next, I
the
guess.
rehearsals, it's fun because George, they're all saying Happy New Year. It's their first time back in the studio in January, and George's like, Hare Krishna, Happy New Year. And then George is like, he said, I'm on the day shift now. And I thought that's a
Yeah,
hilarious line. Um,
because they were
I
totally out of their element. I mean, the Beatles would have recorded all their stuff at night, right? I mean, the early albums they were probably
Oh,
during the
Please
day.
Please Me. Yeah, Please Please Me
But,
was like what, in 12 hours they did the whole album.
yeah, but I'm sure
Um,
they did a lot of work. Like once they started from Revolver on, at least was probably coming into the studio at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night and staying until 4 in the morning or something.
yeah,
They weren't musicians aren't day people like to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and punch a clock.
right.
So I'm sure it was a
And
bit
especially
on.
you can hear them. I mean, they're talking like they're asking each other how their holidays went and that sort of thing in the background. But then they go into All Things Must Pass, which of course we just got a big box set earlier this
Yeah,
year. But it's neat to hear John and Paul like kind of looking over George's shoulder, like reading the lyrics and just trying to get the basic tune
yeah,
down. I thought that was really neat.
it was cool. That was one of the highlights of it for sure.
Um, and then to break into that as well, later on they do a quick take of "Give Me Some Truth."
Yeah, John was working on that already, eh? Yeah,
And it's just some early rough harmony, and John doesn't have most of the lyrics. He's just got the melody down.
yeah,
Um, so it's neat. It's neat when that happens. And then of course you have some Abbey Road early takes with "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window," Polythene Pam, um, a 5-minute version of "Oh Darling," which is they do kind of like a call and response. Paul's
yeah,
like, when you told me, and John's like, what did you tell me, and like that sort of thing.
yeah.
Just having fun. It's just a slow jam almost.
Hmm.
And then at the end, John mentions that Yoko's divorce was just finalized,
I
and
know
like
that was cool.
he starts
Yeah,
like ad-libbing stuff about the lawyer and that sort of
yeah.
thing. So I mean,
He's
it was
free. They're finally free, kind of thing. Yeah, that
yeah,
was
he
cool.
was free.
Yeah,
Um, and before Polythene Pam, you can hear them. They're ordering their food for lunch, and
yeah.
George talks about like getting a mushroom and like cooked mushrooms and cauliflower and stuff like that. It's funny. Um,
Yeah, they weren't ordering
actually,
pizza. That's for sure.
I wrote down, and you'll appreciate this, and I don't know if you remember exactly, but this version of "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window," the way it sounded was almost like late '60s Grateful Dead, how they had it played out. If you go back and listen to it later today,
I will
it
have
sounded
to.
like there's some Grateful Dead sounds, and it could have been a completely different song.
Oh
So I thought
wow,
that was kind of interesting, and I didn't notice
interesting.
it till last night.
I'm gonna have to listen for that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Did you like the Billy Preston thing without a
Oh my
song?
goodness. That okay, that's where I'm looking for. That was a big highlight. I mean,
Hmm.
with Ringo just giving a simple backbeat and John kind of playing a rough lead guitar, it's just the three of
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
But Preston, what was he? He was only like 23, 22 during these sessions, and he sounds like that.
yeah.
Like he's lived 3 lifetimes. Um, I mean, I thought it was really, really good. Without a Song is what it's called, and just the organ sounds great. Um, I don't know. I thought it was fantastic. That took me off guard, and I'm glad they gave him kind of a moment to shine on this
Yeah,
set. Yeah,
absolutely. He does shine on the time together in the studio.
it would have been. It's one of the speculations. It would have been interesting if they have gone to the 70s, you know, to keep up with like the Stones and like what the Who was doing in the 70s, but like more like the Stones.
If they
To
would have
add,
toured, if they would have toured at a time, like say they stayed together from 72 on, like when the Stones were, well, the Stones were doing that in 69, going playing Madison Square Gardens and stuff. But if the Beatles would have had a chance to play hockey arenas and big arenas and with sound systems and everything, I'm sure Billy Preston would have been part of that band.
yeah, I mean, you couldn't have done like "Don't Let Me Down" or "Get Back"
Yeah.
without him on the
Yeah.
keys. And I mean, it could have been one of those things where he could have, you know, opened for him with his band, and then because I think what was it, George? I think George discovered him with Little Richard.
Yeah, they became friends through him touring with Little Richard.
He was like 20 years old,
Yeah.
so like he could have played and then like stayed out there, and the Beatles could have come on to headline. You know, that would have been an interesting dual bill with like the gospel and the blues of Preston, and then you know the pop and the rock of the Beatles.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like those sessions. I mean, there are a lot of box sets where the sessions become repetitive, but I think they did a good job about not giving us, you know, 10 takes of Let It Be. You know,
well, I'll tell you that last take of Let It Be, the last song on well, what it's side 4 on the vinyl, is my favorite Let It Be version. I love it. That's again what I was talking about earlier, transposing the one after 909. I would have taken that version of Let It Be and put it on. George's guitar is a bit raw, yet he hadn't kind of gotten the lead down the way he wanted it, but it sounded very cool.
But it's very similar in terms of like the tone to the single version.
Yeah. I love that version of Let It Be. That was one of the highlights for me too.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wow. Okay, so that covers those. I guess all that's left is probably the EP, right?
The controversial piece of the puzzle.
Go ahead. Your thoughts?
The little dude. So, okay. My thoughts are, first of all, I'm happy to have this. I'm happy to have this. You know, there's really no need for this to be an extra CD, and they probably could have, you know, cut the price an extra $10 by, you know, putting these 4 songs on another disc. However, I did like the music.
Yeah, the remix of the singles is really good.
So with side A, with Across the Universe, very strong background vocals on it. I wrote down very much like the original single version for like the global album that came out, but it didn't have like the birds chirping and like the corny part, like that stuff that I never liked from like the past masters. And this is the Glenn Johns unreleased mix that they added on here. So do you want to say anything about Across the Universe, or do you have anything in particular to say about that?
I think this was a complete waste of time. Like they could have done so much more for that added CD or the added EP vinyl edition. Like, I mean, I didn't need another remix of Across the Universe and thing, and the singles. The singles to me, I mean, they sound like the singles that I remember. And if I would have done anything, if they wanted just to include just a short thing, I would have rather them gave us for the vinyl, and they could have done the same with the CD. I would have rather gotten a 45 with a reproduction of the original picture sleeve, and just had that. That would have been a cool piece for me. Because this is just like, who cares about this? Like, I could toss that away. I'll never listen to this again. And yeah, like, there's no point to it. If they're going to give us an extra album, why not just make this a whole another album with more extras?
What they could have done, and again, I have no idea what their plans are for this documentary next month. If they're going to put out, you know, like a companion, because they've got the book, like a separate book. You know, there's speculation that, you know, they might put out the rooftop concert by itself, which isn't.
I don't think they'll do that. Audio, I don't think they're going to do that.
But even like with this, what they could have done, if that's not what they're going to do, they could have given us these 4 tracks and then like all the rooftop material on one
Yeah,
disc.
exactly. Just more.
Yeah, because
Just make this more. Make it worth our while. Like this is just.
I do think it was necessary to have the single versions of "Don't Let Me Down" and "Let It Be" remixed, just like the album, because they're different versions. I mean, "Don't Let Me Down"
Yeah.
wasn't on the album, and "Let It Be" was a different solo, as we just talked about. So
Yeah.
that was needed to complete the set. On Me Mine, there wasn't really a need for that, I don't think. It was the Glenn Johns mix, and they could have put that on the original Glenn Johns album, like as a bonus track or something.
Yeah. That's my only complaint on the whole set. I love the whole set. I'm glad I have it, and it sits in a nice spot on my shelf where I look at it all day long, and I'm really proud of owning it. And I think it was well done. But I'm just that's if I have one negative thing, it's that EP. Yeah, it's just they could have done more.
I do agree. Yeah, it was kind of like we've it's like we've given the fans this many discs for the other sets. We need to give them this many discs. So let's just throw this in.
Yeah,
And
I mean it wasn't cheap. I mean, yeah, in Canada that was a $200 vinyl box set. So it's
yeah, it's about 140 for CD ish.
Yeah.
So, but with all that being said, and we probably went longer than we wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great set. I'm excited to delve more. Like I said, I'm about halfway through the book portion of it. You can see I've got my bookmark.
Okay.
Great images in the book, great packaging. The album itself sounds fantastic. So if you don't care about the demos and the chatter, at least get the 2-disc set or the standard vinyl.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
well worth getting. Don't ignore the whole thing for sure. Yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth it for me just for the remix of "Let It Be," the song.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, that's good. I think we got 2 thumbs up. I got a thumb, and you're giving it 2, and I'm giving it 2. We got 4 thumbs up here. So thanks, Sam, for doing this with me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was
always great to talk Beatles.
Yeah, I was happy to break down the box set.
Yeah, and the Sam and Glenn show continues. We're gonna come up with another cool thing here at some point to talk about, and we'll get together another week or so and come up with another video. So again, have a great week, Sam. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Y'all enjoy the music.
Please subscribe to this man's channel, Sam St. John. Take care.
Please.
Oh.